Tristan with Nerdouts Newsstand, and today we are going to talk a little bit about A Christmas Story. We are only a few days away from Christmas, so I wanted to share in the holiday spirit and showcase one of the amazing stories from DC Comics past. Now, with that being said, this one's a little bit more interesting because it is after Crisis on Infinite Earths, and there was a little Kara Danvers snuck in here. There was a little Kara Zor-el, Supergirl, right? And I really like this. And it is a Deadman story, but it is showing the humanity within everyone, kind of how sometimes the holidays can get us down. But I actually want to preface this entire video by saying, I'm sorry if I sound a little off today. I have a swollen lip, so that's always super fun, right? Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Deadman. I really like this character. I think he is underutilized in DC Comics. I love him in Justice League Dark. I love some of his stuff on his own. I really particularly love him in Lucifer Morningstar when they did that New 52 run, even though I guess that's retcon, but it was still fun, right? I really do like this character, and we're actually seeing him a little bit in Wonder Woman in a different way, but it's still a happy welcoming for that character. So let's talk about this story. We're going to go into the behind the scenes kind of part of it, because this was actually in 1988, and it comes from, what is it called? It is, comes from Christmas with Superheroes #2. It's a special they did, right? And this whole thing, if you read the very last page of it, it's very weird. It is kind of Mark Waid talking about where he was at when John Lennon got shot, and that's all kind of why these were centered around different human emotions than just necessarily aspiration or glee in the holidays. And I thought that was a pretty interesting way to go about it. But this story in particular was snuck in. And it was snuck in when Mark Waid was an editor and not necessarily in the writing field, and he did get in a little bit of trouble. Originally, it was thought that he was fired. From my understanding, and I could be wrong, I actually don't think that he was, but it is by Alan Brenner, and the art is by Dick Coriandro. I totally messed that up. Yeah, I apologize. They're on the screen. But it's funny because we do get to see Kara by the end of this. And she was gone, right? She died in Crisis on Infinite Earths. And they snuck this through. And you actually had the writer on Superman at the time pretty irritated about the situation. Like, quite irritated about it. And they just wanted to give fans a little something extra, a little Easter egg, right? And I think it's really cool. And we wouldn't see Supergirl for a very long time after this. So, you know, why not? I like it. I don't see why it would upset you. So let's take a look at this story. If you enjoy this type of content, hit subscribe, hit like, leave me a comment, all that fun stuff I hate saying. And let's get into it. Now, this story takes place with Deadman kind of scoping somebody out, a man named John Turner Danforth. And he is scoping this man out because he is a millionaire. He is basically one of those type of men at Christmas time that find it more interesting to put, you know, thousands of people out of jobs and make more money for themselves, right? Typical corporate greed. And he actually ended up buying a supermarket, got rid of a bunch of jobs, and then sold it all to the high bidder and made an extra $10 million. So this is the man he's been scoping out. And he does go inside him. There's a joke in there somewhere, but he says it feels cold, wet inside, like snuggling up or shrugging up into a cashmere coat dipped in salad oil. I wonder if everyone feels a little different when you go inside him. I mean, maybe because he's a jackass, maybe that's why he feels that way, or is that how it is every time? I don't know. So basically, he orders a bunch of stuff for his family that is still around, and he doesn't want to really burden them with his presence. And one thing about Deadman is nobody can see him, right? Yes, we can see him as somebody reading the book, but when he's in these books, if he's in his dead man form, people cannot see him. So he would have to take somebody over to see him. Meaning if he went to his family, he would have to take over one of their bodies, and it makes it a whole weird situation. So not only does he do that, but he actually sends in 6 weeks of severance pay to every single person that this man laid off in the holiday season. Kind of one little last FU and a little bit of holiday joy that this man won't even know happen until the bills start coming in. So we see him then go check out a bunch of people that are ice skating and a beautiful woman, and he goes inside her and he says, it's nice to feel that wind on his face, the smell of the fresh air, the smell of the fallen snow. All of those things we take for granted are what he loves just for a second. And he gets to experience that just for a second. So he sees a man and he has a pretty lady with him. And we actually get a little bit of this whole book had a bunch of weird sexual innuendos. And this one didn't even try to hide it. He goes into this man and he's like, good body, strong, athletic, and aroused. Yeah, he's definitely aroused. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know, Deadman. You're feeling this dude's boner. Yeah, okay, all right. But he gets a kiss. All of the things he really loves. And he actually, in this situation, he kind of puts himself in a bad spot, because with Deadman, while he's inside you, while he is possessing you, you won't remember what happened during that time, right? And that plays an important role. So after the kiss, he doesn't want to leave. He says, what the hell? It's just a party, right? They're going to just a Christmas party. It's not a big deal. He goes in and he has a really good time, just like mixing with his old friends. And he believes for a moment that it's actually his old friends. He lives that life just for a minute. It's really sad on both sides of it, even though he does know it's wrong, and we'll get there. But it's really sad because he has nothing. He has this curse from Rama Kushna, right? He has this curse that he has to live by. And unfortunately, he doesn't get to celebrate holidays. He doesn't get to feel the snow or the air on his cheek. So just for a second, he is enjoying it. And, he gets a kiss from his lady. He gets to hang out with his friends and open a couple presents. And then supper time comes out. They bring out the bird and everybody is happy. And he realized what he's doing here, right? It's not his. It's not his Christmas. And it's not okay. It's Paul's. It's the man's body that he is within. And he takes kind of one last glance over everything. And he says, look, what if this guy, Paul, this lucky guy, were to die tomorrow? What if this was his last Christmas? He doesn't have the right to take that from him. And I really like that. And before he can even wake up or come to, Deadman is out, right? And he's upset. Rightfully so. He is cursing Rama Kushna. He's yelling at her. How is this something good? And then we see a beautiful blonde lady walk by, and she has some really great liners, talking about how his costume is very festive and he's confused. How can you see me, right? And they do this whole thing like, are you some sort of magical person? No, I don't mix well with magic. Those little things are adorable. I love it. So he goes on to say, who the hell is this girl? Why is she here? And she asks some really great questions because he's saying, nobody cares what I do. Nobody cares. Does anybody care that I lived or die? She says, probably not. I mean, you are dead. Comes with the territory. Not trying to make him feel better, but trying to make him understand. And basically goes on to remind us of why these people are heroes. So do you want recognition then? Do you want glory? And he said, I'd been feeling like Job, but there she was making me feel like Judas, and I didn't know why. And he realized the error in his ways and the error of his thinking. Basically, he's never gotten used to what he's have to do. He was a performer before. He was murdered, depending on which continuity, by a guy named Hook or a guy named Jimmy. I don't remember which one is current right now, but hey, that's all right. And she goes on and she says, you were cut down at your height. Maybe there's a reason for that. take off the silly mask, and she actually does so. We don't do it for the glory. We don't do it for the recognition. We do it because it needs to be done. Because if we don't, no one else will. And I really, really like that. Just the simple reminder of why Boston, unfortunately, has been basically cursed, but is doing really great things. He's completely a hero at this time. I would say maybe anti-hero, but one thing that's always weird to me is when they take off his mask. Like, Boston Brand is a good-looking man underneath. Why are you wearing the mask, bro? Like, okay, all right. And he does understand. He does understand after what she says, but he says, don't mind me. Don't judge me, right? And she says, no, it makes me realize you're only human. You're still human, Boston. Don't be ashamed of it. Rejoice in it. Because it means your spirit, as flawed or as selfish our own spirits can be sometime, is still alive. And to a dead man, no pun intended, that actually means a lot. It means a lot more than she even realizes. And then she goes to take off, and of course, he doesn't know who she is, and she turns around and says, I'm Kara. Though I don't suppose that means anything to you. And of course it doesn't, because continuity at this point had been wiped clean, and we just get to see a happier version of Deadman. Not only did he get a few, moments of reality, but he realizes she's right? She absolutely reminds him of what it is like to be a hero, and she gave him more that night than anyone really has. And, he kind of has that feeling he knows her, but you never know. And then he says, Merry Christmas, Kara, whoever you are. And I really like that they were able to sneak that in there without getting in too much trouble. There was definitely a little trouble, but we are also talking 1988 when people talk things through, right? There was a little animosity, but it's also a very sweet story about heroics and humanity and learning that sometimes we are going to be selfish and sometimes we may even be a little cruel, but at the end of the day, humanity at its core, as flawed as it is, can come together during this time. And I think it's really sweet. And I love both of these characters, but those little Easter eggs are so fun. And this was one of my favorite, definitely top 5 favorite Christmas stories of all time. And I will have more in the next couple days. So I will see you guys in the next one. Let me know, of course, what you think.